Welcome to the Kiepersol Texas podcast. My name is Michael Roth, and I'm with Jay and Jay. At the time of this recording, you guys are preparing for a big, what is this, party? What do you call this?
Well, we have a release tonight. In fact, it's this specific bottle.
Yeah.
We've got kind of a local whiskey club that has come out and sampled some of the specific barrels that you guys have and have been aging. And this one actually aged 7 years, and super excited to get it in the hands of some great club members that love whiskey.
Yeah.
This group, is it mostly East Texas people? Is it people just all over Texas? Is it multiple states?
Well, it's focused. It's primarily East Texas. We try to keep it that way. I say that it's fairly spread out.
Yeah, it is. I mean, of course, it's the East Texas Whiskey Club, so it's going to be in East Texas, and I think it started centrally more right here in the Tyler area, but quickly is growing. I'm in Henderson, actually, so
Okay.
I'm 35, 40 miles away, but we've got a lot of members from Henderson area, Longview, and then it just continuing to spread out. I don't know how many members do we have
Well,
now, Jay?
technically, we're a little over 500 members in and around East Texas. I say that, but we get requests all the time from people that don't live locally, and we're trying to really keep it pretty tight. A typical barrel is going to have somewhere between 180 and 220 bottles that comes out of it. And you just can't have a huge group and satisfy the masses when something amazing comes out.
There's something about the exclusivity of getting a small batch or single barrel,
Oh, yeah.
that people want in some cases, but
And it's wildly different when you get to actually go through the experience of trying several barrels and to know that you've got a bottle that, fact is, nobody else in the world can go get. I mean,
Right.
it's unique. You can't walk into a liquor store and just find something that's regularly stocked on their shelf that's going to come anywhere close to something that you've had the opportunity to go taste and specifically pick for you and your friends. It's funny, over the course of the last year, we did 11 different barrels last year, and I almost put the 11 barrels that we picked up against anything else that I can go buy at the store.
Oh, yeah.
So I love it. There are particular avenues that you have to kind of work through. Not everything is sold on the wall at the liquor stores here locally, so you have to do some work through distribution and help it land so that you're working through all the right avenues to go make sure that you're doing it the right way. But yeah, we love the fact that Kiepersol is sitting in here in our backyard, and I think that it's one of the reasons that Kiepersol is the first distillery and winery that we've picked a second barrel from.
Yeah, second.
And it's right here in our backyard. I think that despite being here, I don't think East Texas knows how good it is. Mm-hmm. Part of that has to do with this stigma that Texas has in terms of bourbons. They're typically younger and a little bit immature in flavor. And, when you get to go through individual barrels, especially since we've tried 6 barrels for this experience, and we tried 8 really last year when we selected a barrel that we've really found some unique taste that I think has done really, really well. And I know that everybody involved in distilling this has traveled out to Kentucky several times to try to replicate that as close as they can. I say replicate that. They don't want Kentucky bourbon. They want Texas bourbon, but they've done a fantastic job of it. And I think that Texas in general, we talk about any distillery here in Texas, I think we've really made strides in the last several years to really produce some fantastic product. And I think that you're going to see nationally, that concept of Texas bourbon, I think it's going to change. And I don't think it's going to have the same stigma it has previously, because there's great bottles out here and people are going to start noticing it.
Well, it's the same thing with wine. That wine went through right? Kiepersol do the same thing with wine, with Texas wine. Well, originally, it was like, well, Texas doing wine. That's California.
It's so interesting how in the Texas wine world, a lot of the Texans are starting to get it. That Texas actually has some really good wines. Right. But we still have an issue with other people that come from other states, and they never think of Texas growing grapes. But we are 5th in the country as far as the amount of grapes that we grow. Most of West Texas is converting from cotton fields over to vineyards, and so we're seeing a lot more grapes growing locally here in Texas, and then seeing a lot of wineries pop up.
So. Yeah, so the bourbon's the same. It's the same thing, So those that are used to Kentucky bourbon, they're having to learn about Texas bourbon, but we're going to help them. We're going to help them do that.
We just need to get to the point that people are moving away from Texas or instead of into Texas, so they can just start spreading that.
That's right.
Spreading the word.
Spreading the word. Yeah.
There's a saying that people may have heard but don't fully understand it, but all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Yeah.
Sure, there's specifics that have to be met, and one of the misnomers that we hear all the time is that it has to be from Bourbon County. That's definitely not true. We're sitting here in Texas. We're not in Kentucky.
Right.
But there are some specifics. For example, it's got to be at least 51% corn, and it has to age at least 4 years. It has to be made in the United States. And there's several others that
newly charred oak barrel.
That's right, newly charred oak barrels, and even the char level varies from distillery to distillery. So hopefully I can share this. I think that there's some whiskey that you guys are distilling at the same time. In fact, I know there's some whiskey. So several changes coming up, I guess, or opportunities in and around Kiepersol for some new great.
Yeah. So for many years we've been making bourbon, but we have now expanded our program, and so because of barrel aging, we're not going to see anything right away. But yeah, we're working on a whiskey, and I know there's plans for other single malts and rye down the road. But COVID really made us shift the way we think about what we're doing. We went from bourbon, rum, and vodka, and now we've added a gin and a blue agave spirit that we call Texila. So because of that, we've expanded everything, and that kind of ties into what the room that we're in right now. Behind the camera is the distillery, and then behind me is the infusion room. So now everything at Kiepersol, we literally make all of our own liqueurs, bitters, tinctures. So if you like a really good old fashioned, we make everything right here. The ingredients for that, or a good blueberry bourbon sour. When we have those on seasonal cocktail, we make all of that right here. We get the freshest ingredients, and really, really cool opportunity to try everything at Kiepersol from Kiepersol.
And if the rumor I've heard is accurate, and I think this is driven probably based on some of these clubs. Like more and more people that are into these clubs are starting to develop a taste for higher proof bourbons. Right. And right now you guys have a 90 and you have a Jimmy's 100. And this specific bottle is 125.5 proof. Rumor has it there may be a cask strength bourbon coming out in the next, I don't know how long, but near future. I think we're super excited about it, or super excited to hear that that's going to potentially be an option.
Well, first of all, for those that don't know, we're a debt-free company. Because of the way we've grown real slow and steady. And now we're at the point to where there's a demand more for Jimmy's, for the bourbon. There's only so much bourbon we can make in a year. And so because of that, we're getting to a point where, okay, let's start adding a whiskey. We can get whiskey out a little bit faster than we can a bourbon. There's going to be some times where it's going to be a single barrel, like you said, cask strength, or it's going to be, maybe a small blend. The club, you guys started this obviously locally. How did that even come about? I mean, obviously you guys love bourbon.
There's a funny story behind that. I actually,
as every good club starts with, right?
Fair. There were some other larger cities that are around us that had established clubs, large clubs. Some of them communicate via email. Some of them have web pages. Some of them are on Facebook. But I started to get an opportunity to join a couple of them, and I thought it was awesome. The combination of getting really, really cool whiskey and bourbon, along with meeting 500 new friends, and having something to communicate about, and having another hobby that never would have existed otherwise, just stood out. And there was myself and a couple others. And the funny thing was, we were in a Dallas club, and we loved it, and we wanted to create one here. And I was like, well, I'm not creating it. Lo and behold, a year later, we've got a cool group of 6 of us that try to be as inclusive as anybody else in East Texas. That everybody who loves the stuff, we want you to come join. But I do have a heavier hand in it than maybe I originally intended to. But fact is, I think it's just infectious. You would know this. What did our liquor cabinets look like before a club existed? And what does it look like over a year of
and COVID had a lot to do with that. COVID had a lot to do with that, and it shut down a lot of things. And
we started right there in February, March.
We had one little small gathering, and COVID shut down everything.
That's right.
And so I mean, there was only, I don't know, 20, 30 people there, I think, at our little first gathering that we had, which we thought was great and big. And you know,
We were
really
so proud of ourselves.
We were proud of that. And,
we're
and,
sitting here thinking, what could we potentially, like, what
Yeah.
could be our first pick?
Yeah.
But the problem at the time were yields.
Mm.
I mean, there were some really, really cool whiskeys and bourbons that we could go pick. But like, how in the world are we going to find 200 people that want a bottle?
Oh.
Because when,
Right.
we hit 50, we were pretty excited.
Yeah, you really got to commit to something big. So yeah, when we got 50 and then we hit the 100, I mean, it just took off. So people are sitting at home, not able to work or do whatever, and needing something else to do. They're inside, and it was perfect timing.
Almost every major city. I mean, I know Houston has several, Dallas has several, Austin has several. When you start to build relationships, even across the country, you hear of other clubs that are floating around in different areas.
There's opportunities to sometimes share something you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, and that's what he was talking about here. This is something. This one barrel is the one barrel. It is what it is. There's only, I don't know how many bottles we had of this, 200-ish, and that's it. I mean, that's all there is. So you have people knocking on the door wanting yours, but I don't want to give mine up.
Yeah, we've been to work events. We've been down to visit friends and family down in the Houston market, and I gotta say, it's fun to bring a couple bottles
Yes.
that we know they've never tried before, and
Yes.
they're gonna have a couple bottles that I've never tried before, and you know, it's just gonna
Sit
be
down
a
and
fun
you
experience.
just test and drink. And compare. It's great to do.
And I think the funny thing is that when you come into something like this, you check your, you know, whatever selfish work-related desire, you kind of check them at the door, and
Yep.
suddenly it's just a group of friends,
Okay.
Right.
or a family, a club that we all come from different areas, we all come from different fields, and at the end of the day, we all love drinking this brown juice, and you know, we've all got different collections at home, and that kind of makes it fun as well. And I've said over and over and over that the purpose of owning this stuff is to share it and enjoy it. There are guys locally I know that have very, very expensive bottle collections and huge hearts at the same time. You come over and visit them, you know, unlock the liquor cabinet. What do you want to try? We're hoping to do maybe a barrel a month.
Which is about what we did the first year.
We got a little ahead of ourselves, and 3 barrels might have accidentally landed in January, and they weren't anticipated all in here, but that's okay. It's fun. We'll have a good time. We'll do some really, really cool barrels that maybe you wouldn't typically find because it's stocked in a small batch somewhere, and we can do a single barrel. There's even places just like Jimmy that doesn't do a single barrel at this point, but they can, especially if you have the capacity to come out and find enough people to
They've
purchase
done
the whole
two.
barrel. That's right.
What's a unicorn?
There are allocated bourbons, and for the most part, when an allocated bourbon lands, one of these liquor stores might get a case. They might get 2 bottles.
Yeah.
And there's way too many people in this world. There's not too many. There are so many people in this world now that love whiskey and love bourbon, but you hear the same names over and over again. And we've all heard of Pappy Van Winkle, and you know they make several different variations of what they're producing, and the chances of snagging one each fall when they come out are slim to none. So we refer to those as unicorns. More fun for us though. You know, yeah, you get lucky here and there, but more fun is to go out and pick a barrel somewhere that you can say, hey, go set this next to your Pappy. Go try these. Put a mask on, try them blind, and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I mean, unicorns exist, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm not sure that
A lot of it's branding, it's marketing,
Yeah,
it's just played that way.
I don't know that the juice is necessarily, I mean, worth the squeeze if you're going to go line up at a liquor store before it opens every single whatever day their trucks comes just so you're waiting to maybe get one. My personal opinion, but maybe that's just because I'm unlucky and I'll never find it.
Right.
What does that look like for you guys? Like if I wanted to join the East Texas Bourbon Club,
Great.
or is it?
You're in.
Oh.
There's no dues.
Teaching the handshake,
Yeah.
right?
What was that thing? I mean, you know, there's no exclusivity to it. There's no qualifying, not qualifying.
Other than we're just trying to keep
That's right.
geographically a little more East Texas.
People try to join ours. We ask them a couple questions. We ask them about what type of whiskey they want, you know, they love. Who do they know that's in the club? Because typically they're coming from some sort of I mean,
Somebody
you couldn't go find it otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, there's there's nothing beyond that. And we have a Facebook page that we like to communicate on, and a lot of times guys will put up, you know, even just happy birthday for somebody in the club,
Right.
or maybe this is what I'm drinking tonight. What are you guys drinking? And I think there's a certain level of activity that we like to see. You know, people to be active, people to want to interact and enjoy the experience. But in terms of buying bottles, you know, there's 500 something people in the club and 200 bottles coming out.
Yeah.
So not everybody wants every bottle. They may want one out of every three, and then you have others that want 2 or 3 or 4 of every one that comes out. And so, you know, it's just a matter of what the want is. So there's not really an ask, but there's good availability.
The reason we're shooting for a barrel a month has more to do with kind of the time it takes and some of the organization necessary to go pick it, get it distributed to the appropriate channels.
All the logistics. Yeah.
I mean, it's time consuming, and there's no dues for anybody to go pay. It's just a group of folks.
Sometimes when we do a bottle, this is an example of this tonight, right? So there's an asking price, but then there's also a donation on top of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that we do to benefit, you know, a nonprofit or a specific organization. So
Yeah,
you
there's
know a little bit about that.
there's been some cool opportunities that the club has had, and it stretches beyond just whiskey and bourbon. One of the members, actually one of the guys that one of the admins that kind of helped runs this, ran into a family in Christmas time that needed some help. And I don't know what the final number was. I'm pretty sure it was over $3,000, but he just started asking for help, and you know, Whiskey Club come run it. There are some other cool things that we've kind of built in. People are going to get a chance to go wax the top of the bottle if they want to, and you know, there's the opportunity to donate. We've got some whiskey swag. We've got some glassware and some coasters and some other cool things. There's even some Jimmy's hats. I know that. And so anybody who donates to the selected nonprofit, and on this specific occasion, it happens to be an organization that helps to prevent suicide rates in veterans and first responders. And we've got a lot of veterans and first responders in the club. And, you know, really, we just asked at the beginning of the year, what are the organizations we want to support this year? And that one came up. So there are some really cool opportunities to take this bigger than just enjoying whiskey. But what we found is I just think it's a huge group of individuals with a big heart.
Yeah. One of the very first ones we did as a club when COVID kind of shut things down was to help some local bartenders, right?
Yeah,
Bars
that's right.
were closed.
That's right.
And so bartenders are sitting at home and they're used to, you know, living off the tips and everything, you know, and there's no way for that to happen. So, you know, we just, same thing. We just got together and did some donations, and then did a selection, and we got to select who's your favorite bartender. I think everybody got to do some nominations, and then you know, we were able to give them some money in a time of need for sure.
And I think that had a lot to do with kind of the first jump in terms of growth for the club. She had heard of us. We didn't have any barrels, but you know, we obviously like our bartenders, and here they are sitting at home, kind of twiddling their thumbs, and we wanted to go out and support. Well, we try to support locally as much as we can. And I think we're going to have some really cool opportunities to make a difference this year.
Sounds like just a big community of people.
I don't think we recognized that when we started this thing.
No.
And you don't go start this thing up saying we're going to go have a huge impact. I would just, for whatever reason, the type of people that want to join this and enjoy this, you know, great whiskey and great bourbon just happen to also have a caring heart and want to give generously.
And 2020 was a year of opportunity for sure for us from that perspective, and I think 2021 is just gonna take off.
Number 1 bourbon pairing.
I like a good steak, a good fillet, or something like that. You know, I know a couple of good guys in our club that can make them right. So you know, just something like that is you can't go wrong there. Just good old red meat.
And I'm the kind of guy that drinks it straight. I call it neat, so there's no ice in it. But I'm going to be honest, I'd like to fire the grill up, and it doesn't matter if I have a steak or chicken or whatever on it.
Me too. That's my preference as well. And but
the one thing I learned is that everybody has a way of liking it, and there's no
right
reason
or
to
wrong
judge.
way.
You know, if that's the way you like it, enjoy it. And you know, I think it changes over time, but I think that's the other piece that I've kind of recognized just from seeing everybody else.
We're looking forward to the growth and what the year brings, the new year brings.
I think we feel blessed to have the opportunity. I'm excited that we can support, Kiepersol here in our backyard. And I said that for a long time. I think that some of the barrels out here are absolutely fantastic, and I'm even trying to see if a couple other clubs want to come out and pick a barrel from Kiepersol from time to time. I think that we'd like to help in that space. I think we're real excited about the impact that we can have, across several different local nonprofits this year as well.
Yeah.
This is technically the second release we've had. We do want to grow the group. We want to grow the group with active members. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's not just a number.
We want people involved.
Quality members.
The larger it gets with people that share the passion that we have with bourbon and whiskey, I think the more we can do on both sides. The more great picks that we can ultimately do at some point in the future, but the larger impact we can have at the same time.
Well, that's amazing, guys. Thank you so much, one, for supporting Kiepersol, but two, supporting the community in East Texas. As we're growing, it's really fun to see groups of communities really building a solid foundation. So as we do grow, as more people come to East Texas, we can really set some really solid foundations.
We appreciate you guys having us. We appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We clearly have some conviction around it, love it, and excited to maybe get the word out that we exist, and we love anybody who shares our passion.
The secret's getting out.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next time. And if you guys want to find out more information, just check out in the description below. I'll have links to their pages, and you can find out more information about that.